Hi, fifth grade, it's Mrs. Davis, and I'm here to introduce the next lesson. So we're going to look in our Friday folder. It's December 11th, so we're going to go into that week. Let me share my screen. So if you recall yesterday, we worked through a Nearpod, and that introduced the skill cause and effect. And today, I have to finish that up in 2 of my classes, but my last block did finish that. So here's our agenda. Let me put my face over here. So today you can see we're going to continue to focus on text structure, specifically cause and effect, and how knowing the text structure helps you to better understand the text. So we're going to first start with our bell ringer. Our bell ringer is: what might cause Mr. Roop to be late to school? So the cause is, the effect is Mr. Roop is late for school. So think of some causes that would affect Mr. Roop being late to school. You can pause the video now and answer your bell ringer. Okay, so the next thing in the Friday folder, if we go down to the lesson, let me click on the lesson here. It's a message to you and it has a video link here. So let's read this together. Yesterday, we participated in a Nearpod to introduce the text structure of cause and effect. Here is the video of that Nearpod lesson if you need to finish it before moving on to today's lesson. So today, we're going to finish the Nearpod and begin reading our text, Quest for the Tree Kangaroo. You may read this in your book, your actual Journeys book, or go into your class's information folder and you can access it on the ebook. I'll be doing that today with you. Then you can see in Greet it says, while we're reading, we're going to ask questions about the text, and we're going to identify cause and effect relationships that we find in the text. Remember, the cause happens first, and it's why something happens, and the effect happens second, and it's what actually happens. Okay, so we'll go back to that Friday folder. And all right, so let's go into, let me show you what we're going to be doing today. So one of the things we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to be doing this with you. This is not independent. We're going to do some guided reading here for our first read, is we're going to type in here some questions. Some questions that start with the word who, some that start with the word when, why, what, where, and how. This is a great strategy for thinking about informational text because you can usually figure out the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how, and the why. Because it's informational, there's a purpose to it. So the next page here, so we're going to be, collecting questions. And then we're going to read the first part of the text. And they've given us the cause, and we have to figure out the effect of that. This happened first. What did it cause to have happen? This happened first. What happened second? And then down here, it gives us the effect, and we have to figure out the cause. Another effect, and figure out the cause. Again, we're going to do this together. This isn't something that you're going to have to do on your own. So this does go in the order that it occurs in the text. So that's kind of helpful. As we read, we'll just fill these things in. And then I don't know that we'll get to this today. We might read the second part of the text tomorrow or on Monday. And again, it just allows us to practice our target skill. So let's go into the story. Here's the story. Our anchor text is Quest for the Tree Kangaroo. When I think of a quest, I think of like an expedition or a journey. There's a reason that you're going to go on this journey or this expedition. And in this text, we're going to find out what that quest was and who did it and why they did it. So over here, if we take a look at the genre of informational text, we know that it gives facts and examples about a topic. So as we read, again, we're going to be looking for those ideas and information organized in a specific way. The facts and the details have kind of a cause and effect structure to them. You can see here another picture of a tree kangaroo in its natural habitat. Again, very different from the typical kangaroo that we think of. So let's get into the text. I love this text because it gives us actual photos of the tree kangaroo and the people that were involved on this expedition. It also sets it against the backdrop of Papua New Guinea, which is not a place I've ever been. I don't know that I'll ever be there in my lifetime, and neither will you. So it kind of gives us a sense of where they were when they went on this expedition. So we're going to listen to the pages together, and then we're going to ask questions, and we're going to fill in our cause and effect paper together. So let's listen to this first page. And I'm going to change the page view so that we can see it, and I can make it a little bigger for us so that we can all follow along as it's read. Here we go.
In lush and colorful Papua New Guinea, there lives an elusive animal called the Matschie's tree kangaroo. Biologist Lisa Davik has been fascinated by the tree-roo since seeing her first one in a Seattle zoo more than 20 years ago. Now she leads a research expedition to Papua New Guinea, accompanied by a team of scientists and local guides, with the goal of locating Matschie's tree kangaroos in the wild and fitting them with radio collars so they can be tracked and studied. Lisa and the others hope their studies will help them better understand and protect these special creatures. The team is joined by author Cy Montgomery and photographer Nick Bishop, who are documenting the journey. The group has arrived at their destination and set up camp. They have seen signs that some tree kangaroos are nearby in the forest and hoping to meet one soon.
Okay, let's pause and go back to this Google slide. So I'm going to move this over here because I want to make this a little bigger so everyone can see it. Let's go to the question page. So I heard a name, Lisa Davik, and so I'm thinking a good who question might be, who is Lisa Davik? And she's a scientist. I heard the reader say she's a scientist, and she is in charge of leading this expedition. So another thing I could ask was, and I heard this in the text, so a good question would be, when did Lisa become interested in the Matschie's, and this is a specific kind of tree kangaroo. And we heard the answer to that was 20 years before she went on this expedition. And again, I'm just modeling this. I will be handing you one of these papers to write down questions as we continue to read in a little bit. And those of you at home, you have this in the assignment, under an assignment. So you'll have to fill this in you'll have to at least have one question in each of these boxes to turn in. So what, I think if I wanted to say what, a what question, even from this first page, I have all these questions. What does Lisa and her team want to do in Papua New Guinea? And I heard her say that they want to track and put a collar on the Matschie's tree kangaroo so that they can learn more about them. Okay, so I could ask the question in a different way. I could have said, why is Lisa and her team traveling to Papua New Guinea. And again, it's to discover and find the tree kangaroo and learn some things about it. So the where question that popped into my head was, where are the tree kangaroos that Lisa and her team are hunting for? And of course, that would be Papua New Guinea. And then a how question. And again, you're going to have to come up with at least one of these questions for each of these boxes. I'm just modeling this, so I'm showing you how I could do it based on just the information from the first page. But you have the whole text to write these down. So here we go. How are they going to track the tree roo? And I saw that in the text. They kind of shortened the word kangaroo and made it a roo. So again, here are my examples. So as we read through the text, you need to open up that Google slide and have that ready, because we're going to move on and we're going to work together. I'm going to work with you on finding the causes and effects. But also while we're reading, I'm going to cue you to look at this slide and make sure that you're annotating by writing questions down as we read. So we're going to go on to this one. And as we read, let's see if we can fill in any of these causes and effects. So Lisa Dabeck sees a tree kangaroo in Seattle and is fascinating. Now I remember from that first page, they already mentioned this. So I could probably write the effect here. I have to get out of there. So Lisa sees a tree kangaroo in Seattle. That's the cause, that's the why that happens first. And the second part to that would be, so she leads a research team, a research expedition to Papua New Guinea, and I always have to look at how to spell that, with hopes of tracking and studying them. And see over here it says the tree kangaroo, so I can just say them. I can use a pronoun. You'll know what I'm talking about. So to make sure this fits in here, I'm just going to make the font a little smaller. I'm going to make my box a little bigger. And there we go. It fits right in. All right, so the tracker barks like a dog when he sees the tree kangaroo. I don't think we read this part yet, so let's go back to the story and move on to the next page. All right, so there's a picture up close. You can see how that muzzle is very flesh-like, kind of like our skin is. It's probably very sensitive. And here we go. Let's listen to them move on.
Lisa is washing her clothes in the river when we get the news. Tree Roos calls Holly, 2 of them. One of the trackers has run back to camp to tell us. The 2 tree kangaroos are close to us. 1, close to in Tok-Pisin, a popular language spoken in Papua New Guinea, and still up a tree. While Holly and Christine ready the medical equipment, the rest of us race after the tracker to see. We run past the tree kangaroo house, past the kunai, 2 kunai, the area where Lisa and her team have set up camp, named for the kind of grass it has. Down a trail, and then into the trackless bush. Will the tree kangaroos still be there when we get there? It takes us nearly an hour to reach the site. We see the long golden tail hanging down from the branches of the Sararia, 3 Sararia. Tree kangaroos love to eat the shoots of this flowering tree. And then the animal to whom it belongs, a gorgeous red and gold tree kangaroo sitting 80 feet above us, looking down with ears pricked forward. I can't believe it, Lisa says. And then, in the tree right next to this tree kangaroo, we see another tail leading to another tree kangaroo. Big Pele Piccanini, one of the trackers exclaims. Piccanini is Tokpisin for child or baby. And Big Pele, you guessed it, if this is her baby, it's a big one. Left, Machi's tree kangaroo. Opposite page. Cool winds have dwarfed some parts of the forest, so it is only about 20 feet high.
So you see there's a footnote here, and that you will see some of that throughout the text where it tells you what the native language means. So whenever you see these little numbers next to a word, it's telling you to go down to the bottom of your page to see what it means. Okay. I didn't hear anything about one of the guides barking, so I think we'll have to go on to the next page to do the next cause and effect. So here's another really cool picture, and it really shows us how long that tail is. It's hanging down there, and it looks like there's mossiness up on the branches. That probably helps the tree kangaroo to hang on to the branches. Okay. This is the Machi's tree kangaroo, and it's one of the world's rarest and most elusive mammals, meaning it's hard to find. All right, so here we are. Let's listen up for that barking guide.
This is the miracle of doing work here, Lisa says. They are so elusive, and then you finally find them. The whole field season is riding on these moments. The men had left camp that morning feeling lucky. It was sunny and warm, Gabriel recalled. A good day for the tree roos to come out and warm themselves. They changed their strategy. For the first 3 days, we were traveling more than 1 kilometer each day to find tree roos. I had wanted our presence to drive them closer to camp, so we decided today to try closer, and it worked. The men spread out. One tracker decided he would look for a plant that the tree kangaroos love to eat. It grows high on tree branches and is easy to spot. The underside is brown and the top green. He found one in a tree, but no tree kangaroo. He scanned the next tree over, the Sararia, and there was the tail. Immediately, the tracker explained through Gabriel, I barked like a dog because that would keep her up in the tree. Everyone else heard the barking and knew what happened. Everyone ran and admired the roo. We all stood looking for about 2 minutes, and then someone noticed there was another tail. We photographed and...
Okay, I'm going to pause there because I heard the barking parts. Let's go back here. The tracker barks like a dog when he sees the tree kangaroo in the tree. So what happened because he barked? What did the tree kangaroo do? Yep. You guessed it. The tree kangaroo stays in the tree, probably because it's a little scared to get close. Everyone ran and admired the roo. So there were 2 effects that happened after the barking occurred. They heard the barking and they knew that they must have spotted a tree roo. So they went running to look at it. So the next one is an effect. The tree kangaroo drops 30 feet down. She begins to back down the tree. So we haven't read that part yet. So let's go there. Okay, let's listen to the rest of this page.
And videotape and watch the 2 tree kangaroos for 10 minutes. Now to get the animals down. The trackers had been thinking about this puzzle. Shortly after they spotted the animals, they began to cut sticks and brush to build a low fence they call an M around the tree. If the tree kangaroo leaps down and starts to hop away, the M will slow him down. One of the trackers takes off his tall rubber boot. Barefoot, he begins to climb a smaller tree next to the Sararia. Within 2 minutes, he's as high as the tree kangaroo. Joel, do you see where she is? Asked Lisa. Joel has the roo in his binoculars. She's still there, he assures. But the tree kangaroo isn't happy to see a human approaching. She climbs another 30 feet up to get away. If she jumps, it's a 110-foot drop.
So she's not happy to see that guide take off his shoes and climb up that tree next to her. So again, let's pause here because, one of the other things you need to be doing is asking these questions. You can't steal from me. We've read a lot of new information. So what are some questions you could write down? Again, you could look in your own textbook if you want to go back to the previous page, or you want to look in the ebook as we read. So pause the video so you can write down some questions. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next cause and effect relationship. Let's go to the next page and see what happens.
Suddenly, she leaps, her forearms outstretched. She drops 30 feet. She grabs a smaller tree on the way down, and now she begins to back down the tree.
So I remember seeing that she drops 30 feet when we were looking at her cause and effect page. Here it says the tree kangaroo drops 30 feet down. She begins to back down the tree. So then we need to think, well, what happened right before it? Why did the tree kangaroo drop 30 feet down? Well, right before that happened, that occurred, one of the trackers moved, it's a boy, his boots, and climbs a nearby tree. And the roo is not happy. Okay, so because one of the trackers removed his boots and climbed a nearby tree and the roo wasn't happy, that roo started climbing and ended up dropping 30 feet down because it got scared. That's what I think. I think it just got scared. So the next one we have to look for is the effect is the thing that happens because of this event is the tree kangaroo is asleep. So we're looking for what caused that. The tree kangaroo was asleep. So let's go back to the story and keep reading.
She's almost to the ground when one of the trackers grabs her by the tail and puts her in the burlap bag. Piccanini, piccanini, the men call. The other tree kangaroo is 65 feet up in a discasperum tree, and they don't want him to get away. The tree kangaroo lets go of the branch. Like an acrobat, he catches a vine with his front paws, turns himself around, and lands on the ground on his feet. One tracker holds the chest, another holds the back legs, and another man holds the front. It's only now that we realize that the baby is a fully grown adult male. Mana Mary, the trackers say. This pair is no mother and baby, but a grown-up male and female on a tree kangaroo date. By 10:10 a.m., both tree kangaroos are in burlap bags, heading back to camp. 25 minutes later, we're all back in camp, where Holly and Christine have set up the exam table, a picnic table built from saplings lashed with vines. They've laid out medical supplies and sample vials, measuring tools, and data sheets. Each tree kangaroo will be given medicine to make it sleep, while the team puts on the radio collar and conducts a health exam. We want to find out as much as we can, because so little is known about tree kangaroos, every detail is important. First, while the animals are in their burlap bags, they are weighed. The female weighs 6.4 kilograms, about 24 pounds with the bag. The scientists will make sure to subtract the weight of the bag alone later. The male, with bag, weighs 8 kilograms. At right, Gabriel spots a tree kangaroo.
Oh, this is the caption for the next page. So if the female weighs 6.4 kilos, and that's about 24 pounds, if the male is 8 kilos, we're probably talking like 32 to 36 pounds. Now, if we keep this in perspective, Mrs. Davis had a 21-pound turkey. It's a little bit bigger than a big turkey. Not very big. Doesn't weigh a whole lot. So they put them in these burlap bags. They take them back to camp. So if you want to pause the video, you may, to write down your questions from the text. Okay, I'm going to pick back up. So here's Gabe looking up in the tree. Okay. All right, we're on page 82. We're going to go to page 85 today. So here's that other tracker who climbed up the tree. It's kind of level with the other one, and I'm thinking, how did he climb up that tree? Well, he's probably used to it. He's from this area and this land. That's why he's the tracker and the guide for this expedition. There's several of them to help them navigate through the bush. So he's pointing. Let's go to the next page. So here's that picture from our front cover. And we're thinking about, you know, that cause and effect of why it was sleeping. So we're looking for that. Why was the kangaroo sleeping?
Joel notes the temperature and humidity too. It's 56.2 degrees Fahrenheit, 81% humidity. Let's measure the male's neck to make sure the radio collar will fit on him, says Lisa, but let's do the female first. With the female, we'll have the same priorities, Holly tells the group. We'll measure the neck, put on the radio collar, insert the ID chip, pluck fur for more testing, check the pouch, see if she has a baby. We hope to find out as much as we can while the animal is asleep, but anesthesia can be dangerous. That's why we'll be carefully watching how often she breathes in and out and how fast her heart is beating during the procedure. We'll have to work fast. Everyone will help. Christine will call out pulse and respiration every 5 minutes, says Holly. Is everybody ready? Do you have the radio collar? Lisa asked Gabriel. Gabriel is holding a leather collar, much like one a dog might wear. Instead of metal tags, though, it has a little box of waterproof plastic. This contains a transmitter powered by a square battery and outfitted with an internal antenna. Each radio collar also has a computer chip. Without knowing it, the tree kangaroos will be sending their position not only to the scientists tracking them on the ground, but also to satellites circling thousands of miles above Earth. At 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., times the roos are likely to be in the trees and the weather is likely to be less cloudy, the satellites read the animal's exact position on the Earth's surface. They download this information to the chips in the collars, and this data can be transferred to a computer when the collar automatically falls off after 5 months. The whole thing weighs less than half a pound. Opposite page. Once an animal has been seen, a tracker climbs a nearby tree to scare it into coming down. Above, a Machi looks down from 80 feet in the canopy.
So a canopy is the very top parts of a tree. So 80 feet, that's pretty high. So when we were reading up here, I noticed that it talked about the animal being asleep. And I remember from a previous page, it talked about having medicine ready to give to them to make them go to sleep. So they could do all of these different things with them without them fighting and being scared. So I'm going to put 2 and 2 together, and that medicine, which is called anesthesia, and maybe some of you have had operations, or you know of someone who had to go to the hospital for an operation and were put under anesthesia. Sometimes when you have even dental work done, and I know my kids, they both had their wisdom teeth out. They had to go under general anesthesia to have that done. And it makes you very, very sleepy. It makes you go to sleep. So I can go up here, and I think I can do that last cause and effect. So the tree kangaroo fell asleep. Well, what happened to cause that is the kangaroos are given medicine called anesthesia. I think it has an E in there. Let's see. Yep, didn't get the red squiggly line. Okay. So they're given that medicine and the tree kangaroo goes to sleep. But it's only a temporary amount of time. All right, let's go back here to the story. This would be a good time to pause if you want to add anything more to your question organizer. Okay. So we're on page 183, and we're going to go through and read to page 185 today. But we found all our causes and effects for our page, and now we're just looking for questions to write down on our question page. So let's take a look at, I'm going to make this a little smaller so we can see everything at one spot on this page. All right, so here we are. And you can see they have this mask over the kangaroo, and you can see in comparison with human beings how small that animal really is. Here's a stethoscope around her neck that's used to listen to the heart rate. This here might be Lisa. This looks like one of the guides in the background, and I can see she has a watch on. She might be counting, doing the breaths or the pulse rate, and they look very serious, like they're taking this seriously. So let's read through this last page here. Let me make the text a little bigger so we can see it. All right.
Do you have the screwdriver to put the collar on? Asks Lisa. Yes, yes, says Gabriel, holding the squirming bag on his lap. We're ready. But the tree kangaroo isn't. Gabriel talks to the animal in the bag. Wait, wait, come here, he says gently. And then, to two trackers, hold him. Soon a pink nose pokes out through a hole in the bag. It's 10:55 a.m., and Holly places the mask on the nose. A paw comes out through the hole, but within 45 seconds, the tree kangaroo relaxes. The anesthesia is working. She's asleep.
So
Out comes the kangaroo.
So they just let the little nose come out of the hole and they put that cup over it. And 45 seconds they go to sleep because of the anesthesia we were talking about earlier.
Holly requests. The kangaroo's body temperature is similar to a person's, 97.1 degrees. Respiration is 32, says Christine. That means she's breathing 32 times a minute. That's healthy. Holly leans forward to listen to the heart through her stethoscope. For 5 seconds, she counts the beats. She wants to calculate the beats per minute. Heart rate is 16 times 12. You do the math, she tells Joel, who is recording everything on a data sheet. Meanwhile, Gabriel is putting on the collar. Make sure the collar is comfortable but snug, says Lisa. Yesterday, Christine discovered that Bum 4 had taken his off and left it on the floor of his cage. Bum, a tree kangaroo that was examined earlier and is being treated for an injured leg. Opposite page.
Okay, we're going to stop there. So we're introduced to another tree kangaroo that they had earlier, and he had an injured leg, so they're treating him. So let me go back here to this, and again, you're to be writing down questions, and if you need to take some time right now and look back at the text to come up with some of these questions, do that now. Tomorrow we're going to continue reading on the last 4 pages of the text, and we're going to find some more cause and effect relationships. So the last thing I'd like you to do today, if you go back to your Friday folder, is to click on the code closure. And it says, what have you learned so far from the text? So the last thing I'd like you to do is do a response on what you learned today. And again, if you need to look back at the text, you go right ahead and do that. So let me stop my sharing, and I hope you enjoy learning about a new animal